This is episode 5 of Building in the Trenches podcast. And as you guys can see, we have a new member in the team. And this is Ming right here. Let's go ahead and introduce Ming right here. Ming, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? My name is Ming. I've been building with Dave for about the past year. I'm sure he's talked a lot about our ventures for what we've been working on.
On the pod, so super glad to bring him on. We'll kind of first start off with Ming's background and then what we've done, the accountability, and then we'll go over some news that we've talked about throughout this week, and then we'll just wrap up with some interesting stories and this week ahead. So
that sounds like a fantastic idea. Lots of stuff was done on David's end, lots of stuff that was done on my end, and I actually have to share something kind of exciting to you guys. So let's get into it. Let us know, first of all, before we get into it, go ahead and click the subscribe button, comment down below, just for the algorithm. Algorithm wants us to, ask for the subscribe, so I guess we have to. So overall, what a great week, and wow. So David, let's go ahead and get started with, you.
Yeah, so I think last week I briefly teased that we're in the process of looking for companies to buy. So we've already, I think Sam, I spoke with you throughout this week, showing some potential case studies. That sounds really exciting. So right now we're looking about a power sweeping company located in, the SoCal region that's been running operationally amazing. And the reason for why the owner is selling is because of retirement. And that's really what we're trying to find. We're trying to find boring service-based businesses, that's not really like tech or tech savvy or whatnot, but where we could employ, whether it be marketing or sales, where we could kind of make it hyper growth. So there's a book that me and Ming both have read through about acquisition entrepreneurship, and we're planning on pooling our funds and then getting some investors as well, so that hopefully we could deploy a company within less than $1 million and an SDE of a minimum of $250,000, so that after post debt, we're gonna have some salary and some cash flow to kind of deploy right off the get-go. So that's super exciting journey. A lot of stuff throughout this week. We've been going over 11 deals so far, and then we found 2 to 3 that sounds really good so far. So I'm really, really happy.
Wow, acquisition entrepreneurship. One of the most overlooked entrepreneurship that a lot of people, especially people with 9-to-5s, actually, look up over. And you were saying you got this inspiration from one of your friends who has his 9-to-5, and he's actually buying another company as well. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so his name's Joe. Maybe we'll have him as a guest because he's actually going through, I believe I could say the franchise. It's called Budget Blinds, and essentially most of you guys probably are not going to be the good customer fit because it's very towards higher end clientele living in gated properties where they're looking for blinds, literally blinds. So these blinds cost anywhere from thousands of dollars to even tens of thousands. It's a very high ticket service, I believe. So that's why there's good revenue potential there. So I believe the revenue, he was saying, I think it was $100K, and then I believe he's projecting that it's going to double or so while implementing his sales skills and then accounting aspect.
Jeez.
So that's kind of the avenue. The really interesting thing about franchises is that they're selling the territory. They're not selling employees or whatnot. It's just the SOPs along with the territory that he could sell in. So that's super exciting to see him put only $40,000 down, but the fact that he could get avenue of the cash flow that
the failure rate is a lot lower too, I heard, because they have a whole SOP and a proven business model that they've been running for everything else.
So from the book Buy Then Build, actually, they were talking about how 95% of venture capitalists usually their success rate is around 5% if they're good, but most startups usually do fail, and that's what we've been doing. We've failed countless of projects. We've documented a couple, and so that's why we believe that taking upon these nuggets, and then also our sales along with our somewhat coding experience. If we could talk a little bit about Ming's background experience.
Yeah. So Ming, as you guys know, is a co-founder of David. I know David, talks about all these crazy things that he's up to, and progressing pretty insanely. You guys have seen the growth that David has gone through over the last 4 weeks and stuff. And his right hand man right here is Ming. That's why we wanted to bring him along. Ming, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I met Dave actually through UCLA. We graduated around the same time. I did my degree in electrical engineering. I was studying brain signals, and then I'm now doing research at UCLA Health. But while we were working on Senior Place, I'm sure he's talking about a lot of it was boots on the ground, going into territories. People don't want you there, but you're gonna be there. You try to get them as your customer. And now we're going to do the same with these businesses.
Except they already have existing contracts and customers. So all we're doing is literally just adding some innovation aspect where it's been overlooked. For example, the exact like service company that we're looking for is their website looks like Berkshire Hathaway. If you guys know like the Berkshire Hathaway, it just looks like a website from 1980s. They haven't even touched it, and they're printing $350 billion of cash that now the CEO has to somehow deploy. It's absurd. But again, like if we're able to capture, that segment of that local business where that's a huge moat, and the fact that our customers are literally like, it might be a Walmart, it may be like CVS, whatever it may be for, these service-based businesses, for example, like it may be HVAC, it may be electricity, it may be sweeping, it may be septic, anything. Like these are the boring services that are overlooked. And as we've mentioned, there's a $10 trillion that's being surpassed down from the boomer generation to the younger generation as they retire. And retirement is also a key kind of factor that we're looking into.
Yeah.
Not like they're pivoting into new business ideas because the things are falling apart. Like for example, I think I mentioned like printing business, for example, right? Yesterday. That we could kind of briefly talk about it. They were making around $200,000 in SDE profit, and they were located in Iowa. But I kind of brought it to Sam because Sam's expertise is he literally has a logistics company, and we'll get into that a little bit. But he has a print shop himself. So I was asking, hey, is this a good potential? Because the cash flow they've been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
But one of the downsides you've mentioned was
it's just the industry itself. I mean, it's just printing on paper. So just think about it. I mean, yes, some of these companies, $10 trillion, just as David is saying, that seems like a lot of money. But as innovation occurs, as AI is taking over a lot of jobs, a lot of these 10 trillion jobs are going to get automated. A lot of these blue collar workers, they're going to get automated. So all that 10 trillion is not just going to be, flown over. It's just, we're just going to become a more productive society.
Right.
But again, there's still a huge opportunity. I mean, who is going to, go in there, go into these dirty businesses and actually innovate them? That's what these guys are trying to do right here. And they're going to try to, grow and actually provide some great stuff to society, because that's the thing. It's just, you can, go start a drop shipping store. You're not really providing much to the society. You're just trying to extract
arbitrage play at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And I mean, let's say as street sweeping, like you go outside, just imagine a dirty road. Well, trenchers, you guys don't want that. You guys don't want that, trenchers. So overall, these guys are not just trying to make money here and not trying to make it. These guys are actually trying to transform the world. These are the future of tomorrow's world and the future of tomorrow's society. And that's exactly why I can tell the future is very bright, because we have people like this over here trying to innovate and actually make it right in the society. So as we're just talking a little bit more about that. I know you mentioned a little bit about acquisition entrepreneurship. The trenchers that are watching right now, what would your tidbits be? A lot of people kind of overlook the dirty, the boring side. Would you agree that building a boring business or being a part of the boring business means you have a boring life, or would you recommend a lot of the trenchers to actually go into this type of entrepreneurship?
That's a good question. I think in the beginning, I was trying all the methods that you've searched, like you've talked about, drop shipping, whether it be affiliate marketing, creating like a YouTube channel. All of those methods do work, but for sure, you also have to think about, okay, is this a long-term play? For example, when I tried e-commerce, I kind of briefly spoke about selling like saunas online, and I got it to 10K literally in revenue within the first month. And the dopamine is like unrivaled. When you see the Shopify payments that kicks in, the notification, but at the end of the day, you actually have to run through the business model in itself. Is it sustainable? Are you going to be able to continue the revenue on a month-to-month basis? Because again, if you don't have the inventory, or if you're constantly creating ad creatives and have to give Facebook, the Zuckman, his dollars, then it's not really a good business model, because you're one ban away. You're literally one, ad account ban suspension away from potentially getting your whole access to advertise removed. And that was the model that I took. And I did learn a lot of good skill sets of managing a team, learning how product research, and then, utilizing SEO, figuring out how I could leverage information, how I could leverage, the potential of this product and then distribution, but I didn't really know how to scale it. And obviously, because my shipping cost was a big factor, I don't think it was a sustainable business for me. But I'm sure there's people that are printing on it, but for me, I think a boring business excites me a little bit more, mainly because it already has product market fit at the end of the day. If you're doing drop shipping, affiliate marketing, of course it could work out as long as you build the skills to do so, of creating a good funnels, like finding a good, like winning product, creating, marketing videos that's like extremely good, that makes millions and millions of views. These all work out, but for me, I don't want to compete with, a 17-year-old that has infinite time and leverage and they're doom scrolling or saving clips and editing, because I know that's not a skill set that, I still think it's a valuable skill set of learning how to video edit and storytell. And me and Ming have actually produced that for Mindo Scar Kill, which was another side project that we've done.
For about like 2 months.
Yeah, we
ran
did it for
videos.
2 months. We spent like around $500 and we got one sale out of that. So to say the least, it's up. There's ups and downs, and we're documenting it here for the trenchers. But yeah, just to go back to it, I think boring business is a way to go, especially for anyone in college. I think because a lot of these boring service-based businesses has low capital cost. For example, like window cleaning. Cody Sanchez and all these like people do speak about it, and I think the main reason is because it's very viable, and all you have to do is pick up the phone and call some people up and see like, hey, are these potentially like good services? What are you could get quotes from actually calling window companies, seeing like, okay, how fast are they picking up the phone? If they are picking up the phone within a minute, maybe it's too saturated, right? So you have to pivot into like other boring businesses, but still like there's definitely a good potential in figuring out that, okay, this is a boring business. The operators currently in the space are very slow. That's your moat. Like speed is your advantage, especially when you're young. And then the fact that like the capital cost is not that much. I think you could literally rent a power washing from like there's like technicians that you could rent it for, like the machines in itself, for a couple $100s a day, and then you could probably upcharge for services for 500 or 1,000 per job.
It's actually very funny that you say that, because I recently saw a tweet from Sean, who's the CEO of Ridge.com. It's a wallet, and the tweet basically said that so much marketing talent is actually wasted in drop shipping. Well, why did he say that? The main reason he actually said that is because, people who are doing drop shipping, they have very low margins. So if they're actually becoming successful, they have to be such amazing marketers for like these products that they're churning and burning every single month of these stores, that just imagine if they're just stuck to one product that was growing on a broad, time horizon, they would have $100 million exit, because they're just good marketers.
For sure.
And marketing is the moat. For younger people like us, it is the moat. Boomers out there don't know how to run Facebook ads. Boomers out there don't know SEO. They don't know how to build a website. Well, what the trenchers here know is, hey, we're the digitally savvy people, and that's how we're gonna make it right here on this beautiful earth. And overall, that's kind of my rant right here today. But one more thing, the second thing I did want to go into is, David, I know we were chatting a little bit more about Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett retiring with $300 billion in cash. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so yesterday I was just sitting here just doing some work, and I was watching the annual shareholder letter. I believe this is one of his Warren Buffett's actual last showing, and he also had his predecessor actually show up as well. I think his name's Gary. Actually, I may be just making up a name, but anyway, we have another CEO that's going to be deploying the over $300 billion that Berkshire Hathaway has been accumulating. So honestly, if you go to it's literally Berkshire Hathaway, these annual shareholder meetings. It's like the Coachella of finance nerds, right? People love it. It's like the mecca that everybody at least has to make once in their life. So I was just taking a look at it, and the fact that we saw their scoreboard. They were making an annual like 20%. Year over year compared to this the SP 500.
Yeah, so it's funny. Since 1964, Berkshire Hathaway has made 5 million percentage points just on $1, and S&P 500 has only made 39,000. So basically, it has just literally no one can consistently do that over 60 years.
Yeah, let's just go over some of the acquisitions that this man has made, right? Like, for example, Geico Insurance that literally prints billions in cash flow. Chevron, the gas company, everyone needs it. Car insurance, Geico. Everyone loves to drive. They don't like paying for the insurance, but everyone loves to drive. So there's a huge opportunity. See's Candy, which has compounded so much, mainly because people, when they associate gift giving, it's usually some type of chocolate, you know, or some type of sweets. And so that's why if you go to any See's candies, their prices are crazy. It's like $25 to $40 a box of just chocolate.
Yeah.
It's candy. So, but again, they elevate themselves with our brand because it's like you're gift giving. You're giving it to your girlfriend. You're giving it to your parents. So that's why they have such a huge moat there that he found. We also have Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I believe Coca-Cola has a parent company that actually owns Pepsi. So all these rivalries, literally, it doesn't even matter because
He basically owns the entire America, like every single
and
thing.
Ralph's as well, Kroger
Yeah.
as well. So
I know.
this man has been a goat within literally the U.S. Business world, to say the least, as he's really good at spotting opportunities, and his daily life is literally just reading balance sheets. He doesn't even touch the income sheet. 5 hours of just reading balance sheets, learning about the business, because through the balance sheet, like you can't fake, you know, what's on your P&L at the end of the day. And
Unless you're a Chinese company.
go through shell companies. But yeah, this guy, we have so much to learn from just reading the annual shareholder letters. So it was so cool to see the fact that his compounding year over year has been just tremendous.
So, I mean, overall, one thing that we have seen with Warren is that he has outperformed over the last 60 years by focusing on two things. Number one is focusing on essentials. Number two is focusing on things that are addictive. Coca-Cola, addictive. You know, See's candy, addictive.
Yeah.
And the second moat that he combined with all these things is these need to be essentials that people are always going to be buying, and also they need to be boring, where, you know, not a lot of smart people are going to be coming in and, you know, taking this market share because it's just so hard, it's so boring. No one can, you know, last that long in such a boring business, and that's exactly where the moat is. Do we just learn?
He can just basically survive boredom. I think one thing he has a lot of is patience.
Yeah.
Basically, he created the idea of value investing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I think margin of safety, where it's like if something's not valued properly, then that's the only time you buy it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, all
Most
this.
of the profit is also made on the buy, right?
Yeah.
That's what real estate agents say. But at the same time, there's also the efficient market hypothesis that says everything's priced properly. So how is he finding the stuff that's not priced properly? And so
The market is not inefficient.
because he waits years and years
I
and
know.
years before each one, and I feel like a lot of other investors, they'll go a day and be like, oh, I didn't buy anything today,
Yeah.
I had to buy something, and then they'll make a bad purchase, and then their ROI drops, and
Yeah.
then this guy just like sits there.
Wait.
He's a fisherman, dude. He just
Also, I think his mode is not only the patience, but he also has built up such a good reputation where his investors don't really have, they also have the same time horizons. If you look at hedge funds, they usually have a 5 to 10 year horizon of if they purchase something, they have to make it profitable for an exit, because exit is how the distributions are actually made.
Yeah.
Whereas with Warren Buffett, they didn't have to appeal to the Wall Street bankers necessarily. It was even mom and pop, like institutional investors, where they've allowed for buy and hold. So I think that is in itself allowed him the freedom to kind of pave his own path, literally. Like his career, like back in, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, it might not have been a thing, but
Yeah.
he's literally built himself to one of the greatest compounders and capital allocators of all time.
So there's one thing that, you know, again, this might be a controversial one, but I think Warren Buffett had a pretty boring life. And I'm not, if someone would be like, hey, you know, would you want to trade your life for Warren Buffett's? I wouldn't do it, because I think I have a way more fun life. The thing is, yes, this guy had his money, you know, all his life. What did he even do? So this is exactly where, you know, the book Die with Zero comes in, which I'm a huge proponent of. Like, okay, what is the point of making money or having money if you're not going to use it to improve your life or have more experiences? I mean, what are you guys' thoughts just in terms of that?
maybe his religion lets him take his heaven. I don't know.
Well, I mean, true, but it's just, again, what you're saying is that, you know, religious people don't end up, you know, spending a lot of money.
He comes back reincarnated with all the money, I guess.
So are there any religions that do say that, hey, you know, you make money in this lifetime and then you're going to be able to take it to the next one?
I guess karma is the closest thing you have, but that's how much good things you do, right?
Yeah, but realistically speaking, after his death, Warren says that he's going to be giving all his money away. A lot of his, sons and daughters are not going to be getting it. What are your thoughts just in terms of that?
I mean, that's good for his sons and daughters, but honestly, like, hopefully they're able to, like, take care of that money. A lot of this institutional wealth doesn't really last because they don't know how to manage it.
Yeah. No, that's right. Go ahead.
I'll also add to that, because I remember reading his inheritance. I think this was like a few years ago. It's court records. Like, it shows that I think their sons and daughters, he wanted to distribute a lot of the capital to them, but Buffett has actually lived for a very long time. He's 94 now, and it turns out his children are also 60s and 70s, so they don't really have too much time. So instead, I believe also he wanted to give his wealth to his wife. Actually, remember we were talking briefly that his first wife passed away. He thought he was gonna outlive she was gonna outlive her, so she had $3 billion, I believe, in Buffett shares. So he has all this capital, and so I think one of the things that he wrote down was that he's only giving $10 million to each of his children, and the rationale was so interesting. It was like it's enough where they're not gonna be like in the streets, but it's not like plenty where they have to actually work, and I think that's a perfect example, because
let's be smart about it.
Exactly,
right?
because 10 million, to be honest, like if you're living in a major metropolitan area, it's not a lot. You get one house that costs like $2 million, you get one lawsuit, that's it. That's it. That's a margin of error. That's a margin of safety that we're building in. So, their butts are on fire. Like $10 million is not a lot.
Yeah.
Especially within living in a high cost of living like city, especially in New York, like Los Angeles or whatnot. So I think that was a really interesting take from like Buffett of like being super rational. Of like how he's distributing it. Because I believe one of the things you mentioned this week was like, if you had kids, you wouldn't want to give any wealth, right? Just giving them the skills of how to actually make wealth.
I mean, I know they're my kids. They're not gonna be homeless.
They'll make it out.
If they're actually my kids, they're not gonna be homeless. Their dad was never, homeless. So hey, at least I'm giving them dad genes. Unless they're special or something. That's a different story. I haven't really thought too much about that.
Right. But just to say going over like how inheritance is done, like with Die With Zero, I do believe like there are Buffett is going into like spending most of his money to an organization that does like charity and philanthropic like work, and he's done a great work. I think if you look at some of the accolades that he's done, I think he's done projects with Bill Gates, like with water distributions in Africa. I think also helping. Was it the polio vaccine that Gates was also a part of?
I'm actually like not a big fan of Gates and like a lot of these like socialist people in general, because what they're doing is they're putting a band-aid on a wound that has bacteria on top. What is happening is that a lot of this money is going down to organizations that are corrupt. So a lot of this money gets washed down. A lot of the people within those specific metropolitan areas don't really get the jobs. So all that this does is that putting a Band-Aid on something that's going to be very temporary. I think what this money needs to do is, it's better government, like less corruption in like other countries. So, but no one's gonna salute you. Oh my God, you you decrease the corruption that in the next 50 years the trajectory of this country is going to be entirely different. So I think yes, it's controversial, but I think overall it is kind of rational, at least on my end, because I'm not thinking short term, just like we were talking about drop shipping. Like, hey, I'm not thinking short term. I don't need to make money the next year. I'm going to make money the next 10 years and do a bigger exit where I actually have some sort of impact and I actually make some serious money. So now that we're on this specific topic, let's go ahead and give trenchers a little bit of actionable steps on what they're able to do right here, right now, in order to truly make it from our experiences, everything that we've done from Warren Buffett's experiences, and all the information that we have taken on along this week. So the tidbit from me would just be do something and do it for a long time, because Warren Buffett, I think, says that compound interest is the
seventh wonder.
Yeah, says eighth wonder. Is the eighth wonder of the world, and that's exactly what people like Sean of CEO of Ridge.com is saying the same thing. The dude's going to be selling $100 million of wallets this year, and if the guy who has had that much success, if he's saying that at a certain point, you trenchers, you guys need to understand, short-term money is not really worth it, because the long-term is where the actual money is made. All right.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, I remember in Atomic Habits, like James Clear talks about, if you get 1% better every single day, you compound it over 365 days, you're going to be 37.7 times better by the end of the year.
Or just
even like putting like, $1 in and it compounds, obviously that in a utopic world, it compounds at 1%.
But 1% is so big. That reminds me when we were talking about our business at the start, we're like, if we catch 1% of the market cap every year, we're going to be so rich. It's like, we didn't even get 1%. We didn't get a single
remotely close. Because again, running a business is hard, and it's not as fickle as like what it seems. There's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights. There are gonna be times where you have to give up your weekends. Sometimes relationships are gonna be ruined because that's just the truth. Like you're going into an event where you have to put everything in the line because it's literally like the lifeblood is cash flow at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you're not making, whether it be sales calls or team meetings or recruiting or all of these different avenues and branches within business that is so important, like you're not gonna make it. Let's be honest.
It is a hard game, and that's exactly why there's only very few winners. But you trenchers, you guys are winners because you're watching this podcast right now. So I'm gonna take a break and let you guys know. Hey, go ahead and subscribe this button and go ahead and comment down below if you have any specific questions. So now let's get into my week. I actually had a pretty cool week, and I want to share a lot of things with you guys. So again, I actually was able to take a few sales calls in terms of onboarding some more B2B clientele for my printing business. And some things were made, and it was another big thing potentially happened was I tweeted at the CEO of an apparel company that was feeling some tariff drama, and I basically tweeted at him. I was like, hey, I can go ahead and manufacture your apparel in the United States. So this dude likes my reply, and mind me, JD Vance just liked this dude's tweet, and this dude is liking he's actually seeing this, and I was like, oh my god, this guy liked it. I'm like a big fan, like, oh my god, like it's crazy. I'm like a little 13-year-old girl right there. It's like, oh my god, like did I just get a like from I'm not gonna say the name. But yeah, basically then he sends one of his operational representative to follow my Twitter, and then he slides in my DMs and he's like, hey, let's chat. The next day, they come over to the warehouse and they're like, hey, we're potentially interested. And next week we might have an order. And this company does around $50 million every single year just in sales. So it could be a pretty big client, and the business trajectory could be changing a little bit. So, a little bit of good news just on my end. How did this happen? Well, this happened just because, I had an eye for what these people are doing. What are the main problems in the target market that I am facing? I mean, what problems am I able to solve for other people that are currently being faced by literally every single person in my specific organization? So trenchers, right here, this is a tidbit for you guys. You guys need to be obsessed with the problem you're solving in this world, because what a business is you solving a problem that exists in the world, and you get more value, which is money, out of that problem that you're solving. Yeah, the transaction, because someone else thinks the problem that you're solving is worth more than what it's costing you. So that's exactly what business is. So go ahead and let me know down in the comments down below, if you have any specific business ideas, because I'm always listening to them, and we'll go ahead and discuss on the next one. And now let's get into a segment of the podcast where we're telling trenchers, hey, what are some of the great business ideas that you guys are able to start right now in order to make some money? Ming, all right, we're gonna put you on the hot mic.
Well, we can all just look at Wall Street Bets and, well, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. One thing I've been starting to do this week is try to put more money into investments, just more towards our acquisition. We've definitely looked at a bunch of these ideas, and definitely I think small business acquisition is one way that you can reliably get some cash flow within the next 6 months. That's usually what most people say, within 3 to 6 months. And I'm actually following the journey of one guy. His name is Jordan Novgorod, who was able to do it within 4 months. And before this, his background was actually, he was an electrical engineer for 17 years, and he came out of this. But because of his due diligence and accountability, and when I say accountability, I mean documenting everything. So us doing this podcast right now, this is a form of that. But then he was also doing a lot of blogging, and then he also showed up on someone else's podcast, because what I've heard is when you tell people, hey, in 6 months I'm going to do it, and when you go tell everybody that's what's going to keep you on your game. But someday they're going to come to you like, hey, Ming, so what happened with your business idea? And so this is one thing that we're trying to do. But we're just talking about tips to give everyone earlier, and I definitely think accountability is one of those things. And one thing that I'm trying to be more diligent about is trying to track the time that we're spending on the business. And this is only week 1, but we're documenting everything and trying to put it all on the online for you guys to see. But yeah, Do you have anything?
All right. I mean, sounds like a fantastic idea. I think you guys trenchers, honestly, there's a very, very easy opportunity for you right now out there to make money. And again, if I had the time and if I was, a little bit younger, I would probably do the same thing. It's literally sending emails to local businesses and trying to sell websites for cost, but adding a hosting service on top, which is usually recurring. And the multiples for hosting services are a lot higher. So you just build that, you do insane amounts of cold calls, insane amount of cold emails, and you try to sell some of these websites at cost and increase that monthly recurring revenue. In 1 to 3 years, you're gonna have enough recurring revenue that someone is gonna be willing to pay you 40x multiple for the SaaS that you have, which is the hosting company. And that's pretty easy. And you can build these websites mass, like it's just, you can on, I think it's, what's that one tool that
I think you're talking about Claude.
Yeah, well, not Claude.
Versal?
Versal, yeah. You can make these websites on Versal and actually connect it to your cold email campaign and actually just send them before even, like actually doing it. I know I've seen some YouTube videos of other people doing it, so I think it can work. You just need a lot of hustle right there.
Yeah, for sure. I believe I talked about this before. I think I told you about a work colleague. So he's been doing AI generated websites and he's been making recurring revenue just off hosting. So he charges $25 on hosting. So every single month he's making $25 per client, and that's pretty much essentially forever, unless like the person doesn't want a website anymore.
Yeah.
So build a website for free using Versal based on the copies that they have included or the services that they provide, or you could just even update like home service businesses. But the thing with working with like service-based businesses are that most of them are kind of broke. So like if you're just cold calling a lot of these, it's a volumes game. Like me and Ming, when we first started, we got around like 5,000 in revenue, I believe last year, right? Was it last year in 2024? Yeah. And most of them was from selling marketing packages. And keep in mind, we did, I think in total, we were doing around 1,000 cold calls, and our conversion rates was like around 2 or 3, like, yeah, a total, right? Because we got like 2 or 3 clients.
We had around 30.
Yeah.
Between 30 to 40 clients that showed up, but none of them had like high income. That was the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the guarantee is like they needed some type of return, especially if they're, a little bit not non-tech savvy. Even if you say, hey, like I'm gonna create a free website for you, if they don't value it and they don't really believe that it's gonna attract patients or whatever customers it may be, it's just a hard sell. So
all right, let me give you guys an idea. All right, cool. So I'm in the printing business. There's a lot of small local mom and pop screen printing shops. They do okay amount of revenue, but the problem is that a lot of them are actually taking quotes manually. It's a horrible process. What you can do is you can go create like a quick template website where people are able to upload, a design, and
that 20% of work could generate 80% of the revenue for the entire like company.
Yeah.
If you're able to have like a very inefficient process of like getting quotes, especially if you're doing it like online, or for example, I've heard of this case where like moving companies, they do their quotes and like their times for the operations people utilizing just pen and paper. That's super inefficient. If you just have like a Google Sheets of like last minute, especially through websites, like last minute, because most people when they're moving, it's like last minute.
Yeah.
Who's the moving company within my local area? Because local area, there's so many different moving companies, and so the best, whoever's fastest and replies fast is a moat. If you could build a website, have like a Google Sheets where the your working people could see that live without having to work pen and paper, and then also have like a quote, request a quote, that is a huge moat.
So it actually looks like we just live came up on this specific idea. So this the idea. I mean, I said something very general. David was able to be like, oh yeah, actually, I have tried that. It doesn't work. And then we brainstormed the idea that, oh my God, we can literally just niche down into specific problems. Like I said earlier, any business is you solving someone else's problem and them thinking that it's worth more than what your cost is. So again, the example of the moving company, okay, are they making more money if less people have to write?
Right.
Of course. I mean, they're at least in LA, someone's getting paid $18 an hour, and if writing that down for 1 hour, like let's say a day, I mean that compounds over time. So I mean, your service could be worth to them is like, oh my God, instead of paying, like $18 per hour every single day to this guy, I'd rather pay for this software for $100 a month and save myself so much money. To them, it's just like, hey, you're providing them value. To you, oh my God, it only cost me $5. All you have to do is connect the dots, and that's what business is, Trenchers. Wow, I mean, what a great podcast this been. I mean, Ming right here. I mean, I honestly, you've been a great guest right here. So I want you to tell any last words right here to the Trenchers, any motivational stuff to the Trenchers, and I mean,
I just saw this quote. So I mean, there's a crazy debate that's been going on. Will 100 men beat a gorilla? And then it's all over the internet. But then we all know Alex Ramosi, the ultimate trencher, and he goes and gives his takes on this. And so he's like, I think it's pretty obvious. First of all, humans, we're not that weak, and we have strategy. But most of all, volume negates luck. And I mean, after a year of doing all this, I think, that's the only way it's going to work is we keep pushing through it. And that, we do enough outreaches, at some point you will find that golden nugget.
Also just, I think the thing I find is that with any business like that you do, most people are not going to care about the process that you actually spend, like the busy nights that you spend. But when they see the outcome and like you actually make it work, they're going to be like, oh my God, how did you do it? How did you do it? But they're never going to know like the amount of failures that usually people have to go through. And I feel like a lot of people who actually do make it, I feel like they're just pain tolerance and just the eating poop level is just incredibly high. It must be like through the roof because the amount of rejection that they get. Like I remember there's like a photo of Elon Musk just like looking at his Starship like that blasted like just on the ground, and just like every time like you think about that, like that's what he's dealing with, like millions and millions of dollars in losses.
Yeah.
But kind of persevering through despite that, because if you have like a unconditional like belief in yourself, and then also do the work actually, because if you're not doing work, like obviously nothing's gonna actually come out of it. But like we're literally in that land of opportunity. I mean, like I think Ming also mentioned when he started, like what's the worst that could happen? We lose all of our savings. Dude, like we have a 9 to 5. Like that's the worst. That's the worst outcome.
You're not
that's
going
the worst
homeless.
outcome. Yeah, exactly. So if that's a downside, I'm willing to take it.
It's like our worst is like everyone else's like optimal.
Exactly.
So like, what are we losing?
Nothing.
Yeah.
More
expenses. Wow, what great tidbits right here. I mean, some great motivation was, some great quotes were actually said right here, especially in terms of gorillas. I actually think, I think gorilla would win still. But that's a commentary for later, not for Building in the Trenches podcast. Trenchers, thank you so much for tagging along, listening to us, and I just want to let you know, if you're listening to this video right now, you are gonna make it, because you are here with the Trenchers, with your community, and wow, go ahead and click the subscribe button and like this video. Let's go, baby. Episode 5. Let's do it. Woo!